Welcome to Antriksh Talks, Brands and Stories, where we meet interesting people and industry leaders and we dissect terms and trends, brands and stories. Today we are honored to have with us Dr. Ravindra Utgikar, an extraordinary leader with over 30 years of global experience in corporate strategy, sales, and marketing. He is currently the Vice President and SBU head at Willow, where he plays a pivotal role in driving strategic growth, market expansion, and innovation in the water technology sector. Dr. Utgikar holds a Ph.D. in International Marketing Strategies and is an accomplished electronics and telecom engineer. His extensive career includes leadership roles at Praj Industries, Sterilite Technologies, Suzlon Energy, and Tata Honeywell, where he has spearheaded multi-million-dollar business strategies, global market entries, and transformative partnerships. Beyond his corporate achievements, Dr. Utgikar is a thought leader and education advocate, serving on advisory boards for institutions like COEP Tech University, Bhau Institute, and the World Bioeconomy Forum. His commitment to sustainability, innovation, and mentorship makes him an inspiring figure in both business and academia. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Ravindra Utgikar on our podcast. Thank you, sir.
Hello, such a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you for taking out time from your busy schedule.
My pleasure.
It was, a great opportunity for us to, get in touch with you, getting this time to gain insights on a personal level directly from the man himself.
Let me just say, pleasure is mine too.
When we talk about, the landscape that's changing all around us, and when I look at you, who has experience through the past, the present, and a futuristic landscape that is yet to come.
Yeah.
And it feels inspirational, to be around you, to get the chance to hear from you directly. And it all goes back to childhood, how it all began for you, what did shape your journey to become who you are today.
Let me just say, our engagements have been equally enjoyable. So I think being with you in this podcast is an honor. Let me put it that way. I have seen all the great work that you have been doing over the years, and I've been following your channel, and I was looking forward to this engagement. Yes, I mean, over the last 3 decades, I have had good opportunity to work across various sectors in different demographies, in different roles. And looking back, as you rightly pointed out, there is one standout moment that I can recall. My father was a civil engineer and he was building dams and bridges, mega projects. So in one of our summer vacations, we had gone to Ujni Dam, which he was building as a project manager. And I remember as a school-going kid, probably 7th or 8th standard, being at the project site, all the hustle bustle, lots of people, material, machine movement happening, and seemingly there was chaos. But when I reflect back after years of wisdom, I could see this the same thing as a symphony.
Yeah.
So I realized there was some structure, there was some method to the madness, there was great people coordination, right? There were elements of risk and risk mitigation because you're talking about mega infrastructure projects here. So looking back, I think that was one standout moment that has left indelible impression on my mind, that finally it comes to effectiveness or efficiency. It's all about people, machines, processes,
Correct.
and obviously the purpose.
Correct.
So I think that is one standout moment I thought that was kind of inner calling that, well, I would like to get engaged in something on the technology side which involves people, and the process element has a role to play, which eventually goes in a big picture scheme of things towards nation building or even sustainability,
True.
which is core of everything today that we do.
You realize beauty lies in the chaos. And
Indeed. And you have to be part of it, and you, like I said, you see seemingly there is chaos from outside. When you become part of it, you see this little bit, you start realizing there is whole method to the madness, and the more you are part of it, you realize it's nothing but a symphony. There is an orchestrator, there are musicians, hundreds of them playing their part to perfection, and what you therefore see is a fantastic symphony. It stands in the form of engineering wonders, if I can call it that way.
so you have an admirable profile. You have been a part of diverse roles, diverse companies, global strategies. How did your education prepare you for your career?
So first and foremost, I come from a highly educated family background. My brother is a postdoctoral scientist on the nuclear side. My sister is an anesthesiologist. Brother-in-law is a gynecologist, and my wife is an architect. So as a family, we value education a lot because we believe that that prepares you for any eventuality. Continuous learning we spoke. So after doing my engineering, I took real experience, and where I realized that to get to the next level, I need to arm myself with some modern management skills, and that's why about 8-10 years after my graduation, I did my masters. After doing my masters and I had already fantastic overseas exposure, I realized that all the international exposure that I have, I must share as experience with our young generation so that they can benefit from it. Dr. Rajni Gupta, who was the vice chancellor of Symbiosis then, invited me to actually mentor their international business students. And what I realized that the students were doing great paper strategies, but they had no idea that when the rubber hits the road of what will happen. So they had an internal guide and an external guide, which is me, and often there would be conflicts. And that's where I realized that sharing real life experiences is very important, and that's why I took on to academics. And I took liking for academics because I realized that there is great talent available, great faculty, but which doesn't quite have the kind of exposure to the international world, trade and commerce, cultures, the way one should have. And that's why I started my work in academics when I realized that if I have to progress in academics, I need to have a good qualification like a doctorate, which was one of the driver. And then of course in Suzlon, when I worked in internationalization of our program, we did every mistake in the book, outside the book, to be able to make an impact in global market. And all those insights and learnings I have brought in my doctoral thesis, that how do an Indian new entrant in the renewable energy space actually enter the Western market like America and scale up and grow. So that became my PhD topic, and that really opened my eyes to the world of research, the world of market intelligence, the world of constantly evolving technology landscape, policy landscape, customer landscape, and competitor landscape. So I really believe that education prepares you, like you said, to borrow your word, it's a reality check that when you study, go back to my book, you actually hone yourself with new skills, and then you are effective in your new role again, because what you learn, you are able to apply because you have that kind of a good blend of theory and practice. So I think education is supremely important for staying relevant, staying contemporary, and to be able to progress in life. So that's how education prepared me. And then there is that further created continuous hunger to know more about what's going on in the world, whether it is current affairs, whether it is geopolitical environment, whether it is trade war. So I think all this has a role to play.
Right. And you have been a part of so many companies. What would you say was a turning point in your career which gave you momentum or to go into the next phase?
In my stint with Suzlon, I got opportunity to work with Boston Consulting on transformation projects. That I would say was a tipping point because that's where I worked with the best in class professionals from the management consulting IITM graduates who had a wealth of knowledge because of the knowledge repository that Boston Consulting had. So I worked with them on mergers and acquisitions, new product development for global markets, evolving operations and maintenance as a service business to capture the share of OPEX and not just capex, and also risk and risk mitigation strategies. So these 4 or 5 transformation projects gave me deeper insights into the world of mergers, acquisitions, customer driven innovation, new product development, risk identification and mitigation as a fundamental layer of the foundation that you lay for us building a skyscraper. And then obviously not always looking at the capex, because boom burst, the capex is the first one to get slashed, but the operations have to go on. So how do you carve a niche business model which will target the operation expenses of customers? So I think the working with Boston Consulting on the transformation projects where system-driven approach, data-driven decision making, efficiency, sensitivity to the external environment, I would say were great insights that prepared actually me to take on leadership roles in industry, irrespective of industry sector. In fact, one of the unique aspect of my career progression is I have worked in different industries, in different demographies, whether it is control automation instrumentation, whether it is renewable energy, whether it is bioeconomy, whether it is power transmission, data transmission, now mechanical pumping and pumping systems industry. So it's been different industries. Working in India for a while, most of the time, although I have worked in Singapore on deputation, I worked in America on deputation, I was in Middle East. So all these different demographies, different industries created that unique insights, I thought, which kind of helped me carve a niche for myself in my career progression.
Correct. And this kind of a multidisciplinary approach has in a way made your career dynamic.
Yes, I should say that because in the process you come across extremely talented professionals. Some become your mentor, some become your coach, some become your friends, some become your guide who are just a call away. Earlier in the discussion we spoke about network and relationships. So I think I'm blessed to be in the company of so many accomplished people, and there is always that rub off effect, when you work with people. In fact, one of the influence in my career was my boss, who was a Dutch man living in India. So I would fondly describe him a man with an Indian heart but Western brain. In the sense, he was so empathetic, so people centric in working. At the same time, he was so organized, so methodological, so much keen on documentation so that anything can be repeatable and scalable. So I think he had an excellent blend. So working with him was again a great learning experience for me.
So you're currently the Vice President and SBU head at Willow Group. So tell us about your current role and how you're driving strategic growth there.
Willow India is a part of 152-year-old Willow Group headquartered in Germany, and it has presence in over 50 countries and 90 manufacturing facilities. So basically, we are into developing pump and pumping systems for sustainable water transportation. I'm well and truly excited about this role because this company has sustainability as its core value. Creating, caring, and connecting are the three pillars of its growth strategy. The company's mission aligns with not one, not two, but four sustainable development goals. Goal number 6, 9, 11, and 13, where providing clean, hygienic water for sustainable living remains the fundamental aspect. If you look at the World Economic Forum's Global Risk Report, and if you further dive into India's risks, the top risks for India is water shortage.
Right.
And this year, our groundwater extraction was more than the recharge, which means we are heading towards a crisis if we don't do anything about it. And Willow India is in such an exciting place to be able to provide solutions that will help us conserve our water footprint, that will help us utilize our water resources very efficiently, diligently, removing leakages from the system, and impact several sectors like agriculture, whether it is precision agriculture, like water access. You can imagine not many people in the rural remotest part of the India have a tap water coming at their home. Take Himachal Pradesh, the water reservoir is in the valley, the habitat is on the hills, so you have to transport water like 100 200 meters. So our pumping systems make it possible.
Right.
There are solutions that we have offered in Madhya Pradesh where we have brought thousands of hectares of land under irrigation from where there is water surplus to where there is no water. And when you have water coming in, the whole demographics, the whole economics of that region changes because you are bringing so much land under irrigation. The whole area can become a self-sustaining economy, and you are actually combating the rural to urban migration problem of the labor because you are helping them create jobs. So I think We are in a very exciting place. We are helping India achieve its sustainable development goals. We are helping India move towards net zero targets. And overall, the space is very exciting to create and make a difference to our society as a whole.
Correct.
And my role is to carve out strategies which will help us get a better share of the market, to win more accounts, to be able to innovate and come up with new water transportation solutions that will help optimize the water footprint for us. So I'm very excited about this role.
That's great. Because water is not only impacting on a water crisis level, but also socio-economic impact.
Absolutely. Yes, indeed. Yeah, and that's what excites me about this role.
Talking about technology, people and processes, as you rightly said, there's a lot of hustle and bustle, but at the same time, a lot of structure
Yes.
coming up as you closely observe
Yes.
it. So, talking about tech or marketing over the years, how do you see the evolution? Like earlier, it was very much people driven, process driven, of course, but now it's like almost technology everywhere, and people are kind of disappearing into the mist in a way. So, what is your take on that?
So look, I mean, if you look at the inflection point or tipping point, clearly advent of internet, smartphones, cheap data, that has made sure that we have what we call as a very inclusive growth. So everybody has now opportunity to participate in that growth.
Right.
So I think that was one tipping point, that the technology ensured that, let's call it democratization of knowledge. In the previous years, knowledge was seen as power. Today, knowledge is available at the click of the button. But how do you translate that knowledge to understanding, understanding to application, and application to repeatability, scalability? That sets you apart. Per se, internet has democratized knowledge. Everybody is now can have access to knowledge, whether it is tech knowledge, whether it is in medical sciences, whether it is humanities, whatnot, and then how we can identify the problem statements and the gaps that society as a whole has to the chronic problems. We need to come up with innovative solutions. So how do you leverage your knowledge and actually provide a sustainable, scalable solution
Right.
using technology that benefits people at the bottom of the pyramid? I think that's the beauty of the technology. And previously, it was kind of monopoly of few who were sitting on the knowledge warehouse.
Correct.
Today, like I said, everybody can access. And then, like I say, nobody has monopoly over ideas. Ideas come from down the hierarchy, from your peer groups, from your superiors, from your ecosystem.
Correct.
How do you take that idea to the next level? How do you take that innovation on the journey of commercialization? Is really where the game is being played today.
True. And it's a great equalizer, technology.
Indeed.
It's all about application.
It's all about application. It's all about finding customers'
Correct.
stated and unstated needs,
Right.
today's needs and tomorrow's needs, and then leveraging technology to identify solutions that can help relieve his pain areas, free him from the problem statements, and he's then able to concentrate on growing this business. So I think it's all about identifying the right problem statement.
Yes.
And then packaging a solution around that problem statement. More often than not, the solution is cross-functional and cross-industry in nature.
Right.
Multiple sciences and multiple streams have to come together to make that solutions. Like we said, scientists invent, engineers create, and managers commercialize.
Yes.
So you need all three
Yes. To function in harmony.
to function in harmony.
Correct. Talking about this aspect of technology and business going hand in hand. Prior to the dot-com bubble, technology was like major factor. Or if you had the tech, then you are the master.
Sure.
Business came second.
Sure.
But other people would rush towards something that had some technological sense of value. But now the tables have reversed in a way, because everyone has access to tech, as you rightly said.
Sure.
Now, if you make sense of the business angle, then you can survive in the market.
Absolutely. You said it very well. Yeah.
Right. Talking about that, marketing then plays a big role in how you make your brand stand out.
Sure.
and you have a PhD in international marketing strategies. You have been a crucial part of different brands, marketing and strategy overall. So how did you enter this field? What inspired you to take this up?
Let's put it in perspective. We said that now technology provided level playing field to everybody, which means the competition was not only coming from domestic players but international players. It also meant that the competition was also not from the same industry but also from outside industry. Just to illustrate the point, for decades altogether, the automobile landscape was dominated by big auto players from Japan, Germany, and USA. And today you have all the tech, digital companies like Apple, Google, Microsoft, or Baidu's and UI's, and some of the Chinese companies which are tech companies getting into the auto space. So what has therefore happened is the competition is extremely fierce on one hand. Second hand, because of the internet and easy access to knowledge, the customers have become more knowledgeable.
Yes.
Knowledgeable customer means they will keep asking more and more for less and less. Right? There was a nice term that somebody coined, ROPO, research online, purchase offline, or even online. So anything you want to buy, whether it is book, whether it is automobile, whether it is insurance, whether it is real estate, you go up the website, compare feature to feature, compare commercials, compare technology, compare everything. And then the buyer is knowledgeable.
Yes.
So a knowledgeable buyer means it's a shifting goalpost. Right. He will keep asking for features. He will keep asking for innovative financing. Right. He will keep asking for life cycle service and whatnot. So the companies, to be able to survive, have to fulfill his needs, which means they will also have to find innovative ways to be able to fulfill his demand. Now, you may have everything, but if you fail to reach your target audience, all technology remains undercapitalized. So the marketing has unprecedented role to play, because you may be sitting at one corner of the country in India and you may be able to do business with someone who is sitting on the other part of the world, as long as you are able to convey your customer value proposition, your differentiator, your commitment to the cause very effectively, very efficiently. So it's all about expanded outreach, it's all about expanded visibility, it's all about what I call catching the mind share of your customers first. Okay. And that is where innovative ways of communication, promotions, branding came into play. And just one last point, that till the advent of internet and digital marketing, social media marketing, people had to burn unbelievable money in marketing, whether it is brand ambassador, whether it is print, whether it is, hiring the state of the art high-end agencies to make that impact. So, today, because of the social media, everybody has a voice. Yeah. How effectively you use social media to communicate your value proposition, to communicate your promise, is something which is again a level playing field for everybody. So it is unprecedentedly important that one has to master the art of marketing, branding, and promotions. Right. And obviously, segmentation, targeting, positioning. So you got to know where to play, how to win. So all this goes together.
Yeah, and there's imperative that you positioning your brand in a particular way, you set the narrative.
Yes.
Instead of your buyer setting it.
Correct.
As you said, the buyer is knowledgeable, and in a perfect market condition, it becomes more competitive for everyone. So either you play on innovation or pricing.
Yes. Right. You play on innovation, that is technology. You play on pricing, which is actually cost. You play on relationships, which is the key, because what has happened is information overflow. It's like drinking through the fire hose, right? So how do you make your product, your services, your solution available to people at the right time, at the right place, at the right price, will actually decide the success. And all this comes through a lot of intelligence churning, from data mining to data analytics to insights and to devising strong actionables to your target audience. Right. That's really the paradigm shift of marketing. And you asked me how did I get attracted to it. I realized that When at an early stage I got exposure to work in international business, and I had opportunity to work with many Western customers, and we realized that we have a long way to go to be able to devise propositions that stick with their customers. So that was also one of the drivers that made me look at strategy and marketing a little bit in close.
And talking about the factor about studying your market closely, I read this somewhere. Marketing is all about being a part of the conversation that is taking place in the mind of your consumer.
Absolutely.
So because if you're there at the right time, right place, then you have won the market.
So market share will follow, share of wallet will follow. First, you need to have mind share, and that is why we have this classical Boston Consulting 2x2 matrix, where we actually say that on x-axis you have customer relationships, and on y-axis you have your company and capabilities. So on the fourth quadrant, where your relationships are great and your understanding and knowledge is great, you are a trusted advisor to your customers. You not only know him very well, and you also know your subject very well, so you are able to offer him solutions. You have great relationship, then you remain a friend. You have great technology solution, then you remain a vendor. So you want to be a trusted advisor. So he consults you no sooner the thought dawns in his mind that how about this, and you are coming in and offering your perspective and to help him get closer.
Right.
And like Steve Jobs said, get up close and personal with your customer, so much so that even before he knows what his needs and what he wants, you're able to convince him that here is what you think.
True. And talking about relationship building being a very major block of marketing, do you think things are getting impersonal now with the advent of AI, or even we see AI sales development representative, AI telecallers, a lot of conversational funnels being redirected to AI chatbots? Do you think that human element is missing nowadays, or it's going to go extinct in a few decades?
And that's a great question, but to me, I think jury is yet out to what extent AI will play a role. I mean, there's so much talk, but in reality, if you leave alone the top tier companies, not many have been able to actually harness the advances of AI.
Sure.
Let's talk of mid caps, small caps, or MSME for that matter. But let's set that aside. Conventional relationships will never go away. Well, I'm a firm believer that all things being equal, customer would like to do business with his friend.
Correct.
All things not being equal, the customer would still want to give his friend opportunity to match that price, match that feature. So I think relationships are unprecedentedly important. What AI is going to do is it's going to, it's like saying that emergence of 24/7 customers. So while you are sleeping, your digital presence will ensure that the customer needs at the other part of the world are still addressed, or he's kept warm. So we have to really find a nice mix of physical and digital. But long story short, I don't think one-on-one customer relationships, personal chemistry, you may call it, bond, you may call it, or that invisible glue that you weave around your account can ever be replaced by machines. We are getting into fiercely competitive environment. We spoke about importance of customer relationship. When it comes to competition, there is one standout thing is customer experience. Competitor can match feature to feature, competitor can match price, competitor can match delivery. But how do you make the customer feel is the way customer would relate to you, whether it is first touch point on the website and after through the acquisition process, through the delivery process, to the life cycle. Every touch point, how do you create a differentiator and view that invisible glue, which we call customer experience. So customer experience will eventually become the only differentiator. I mean, recall your experiences in a restaurant, on a flight, in a shopping, wherever.
Right.
How were you treated? That is something which leaves an indelible impression. So I think we got to concentrate on how we can deliver superior customer experience to differentiate ourselves from our competitors.
Correct. In a way, customer experience can also be copied to some extent. If we say, if we study brand touchpoints of a particular business and try to replicate that, but still the way you have your own company culture defines, how your employees are enabling that or kind of executing that kind of a brand touchpoint. So, what are your observations about that?
You're right that people can copy, but see, customer experience is not one off, right? It stays across. And in a company, it is internalized, it becomes a part of your DNA, it becomes a part of your culture. Whether it is 48 business hour responses, whether it is decision making, whether it is documentation, whether it is owning the faults, whether it is standardization of the contracts, whether it is negotiated terms and conditions, whether it is co-creation. So customer experience doesn't limit only to the delivery. You can go into co-creative models. It could be in the business research environment space. It could be in research. It could be in social CSR space. So you are trying to make sure that you are always in thoughts for your customers when it comes to any problem statement, when it comes to any opportunity to harness.
Does it hold true for B2B and B2C equally, or are they two completely different landscapes when it comes to relationship building and marketing?
At some point when we started studying management in late 90s, there was, or early in the millennium, there was a still distinctive B2B and B2C thing. Today I think the borders are kind of blurring. So the concept of connecting with customer is just picking up as much in B2B space. And let me give you an example. A knowledgeable customer would means acquiring, retaining, growing customers is a big ask. So how do you actually create that invisible glue around customer? So that's where key account management, global account management comes into play, right? You have multiple hierarchical and multiple functional relationships spread across a strategic account that is a customer. And that means you are able to build an ecosystem, invisible ecosystem. That is hard to replicate. You are able to build a rapport, relationship across levels and functions, which is not easy to emulate. So previously, one salesperson was servicing one account, and that salesperson moving away would mean that the account get dropped or it will move to a different client. When you work in a key account management or a global account management concept, you are actually stonewalling or ring fencing your competitor. Right. That doesn't mean you will never ever lose it. You have to come good on the value proposition. That was true yesterday, that is true today, that will be true tomorrow also. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, value creation has no delivering on the promise, value creation has no substitute. But I think this B2B business is also getting redefined by developing intimate relationships with your peer group, so that at any point in time, no matter what, just a customer lifts a phone and connects with his counterpart in the suppliers organization. So I think the realization is coming in that space also. And one last point is, I think the traditional definition of vendor, supplier, customer, buyer is all changing. Once you have signed up, the fight is against time, cost, quality, quantity, risk. Because you want to win together. We have this nice hare and tortoise story, hare wins and tortoise wins, but together they realize that they collaborate, both stand a chance to win. So I think that awakening is coming. So I think B2B and B2C are, the differences will remain in terms of outreach, in terms of business model to deliver proposition, in terms of scale, size and whatnot. But the reality is that when you talk about marketing, it is just getting as important to be personal contact, personal relationship in B2B space just as it is in the B2C space.
Talking about digital transformation, bringing around this kind of change in personal relationships in the conversational funnel for a brand. But let's address some tangible issues.
Yeah.
On the ground, there is climate change.
Yes.
Bringing havoc. There are brands struggling to portray that they are doing enough for the environment. So how does digital transformation help tackle real world issues like being sustainable enough, ensuring your carbon footprint as a company is doing good to the blue?
I think that's again a great question and much deeper question. But look, like I said, first of all, it all starts with awareness. Awareness about climate change. Awareness about potential solutions to climate change, which is Awareness makes way for knowledge. Knowledge will make way for understanding what this technology can do for my business. And that understanding will pave way for application. So, awareness, knowledge, understanding, followed by application. All this is made so easy at the click of the button by technology. That doesn't mean everybody understands everything so well. Digital technology has made sure that what are the potential solutions to combat climate change? For example, energy transition, that is moving from fossil fuels to renewable energy, moving from conventional energy to clean and green energy, is a solution that is now well known. Yeah. Second, we talk about circular economy, which is reduce, recycle, reuse, repurpose, replenish, replace. So anything can be kept in service till its life cycle in a different shape and size, so as to reduce the overall carbon footprints. That technology has made it possible. Third important lever technology has given is in the form of carbon capture and storage, which is also a big lever in a battle against climate change. And then there is forestation, and then there is stopping afforestation, growing trees. So all these technology solutions, one is able to access and customize it to his needs, whether it is solar power, wind power, bio energy, for that matter, new vehicles are coming, or using bio environmental friendly materials, solutions, or for that matter, like our honorable Prime Minister has given this clarion call for lifestyle for environment, which is actually to moving away from mindless consumption of resources to mindful utilization of resources. So I think digital advancement has successfully empowered people with knowledge. Now they need to take next step of what this technology can do for my business, my needs, and actually look for partners who can help minimize carbon footprint, energy footprint, utility footprint, and achieve overall sustainable development goal objectives for that company. And as you know, top 1,000 companies in India have to file business responsibility sustainability report, and this is going to become bigger and bigger. Why just listed companies? Even if you go to the startup space, the investors are asking, what are you doing to ensure that your business is compliant with sustainable development goals? Even for unlisted companies, ESG reporting. So there are so many things that are coming in. I think this space is to be watched.
Correct. So talking about ESG, yes, every big brand out there wants to seem good in the public eye. And I was watching this documentary called Buy Now on Netflix. Yeah. Amazing documentary on how mass consumption or fast consumption is ruining the planet. And a lot of these big brands, including Coca-Cola and all,
yes,
they do label their bottles as them being recycled, but in reality, it's not. And on the other hand, when companies say that we have this amount of carbon credits in surplus, the way they execute it, so this is something that I read and I would like to know, to what extent that is true or to what extent that is appropriate. So if a company, say, has this kind of negative impact, let's say in Pune, they're situated in Pune, they're doing consumption, they are maybe ruining the local water body or the air to some extent. Now, in order to make up for that, they do some kind of forestation or plantation in some other part of India or the world. And then they claim that now we have enough carbon credits because we made up for this in some other region. Do you think that kind of, an effort which is distributed across different regions makes sense? Or do you think that impact should be, made visible in that region itself?
Let's put it in perspective. What you described is a fundamental called greenwashing,
yeah,
which means you are actually faking. You are claiming, but you are not doing. We can see everywhere we have this plastic bags which are claimed to be degradable, biodegradable, which they are not. So there are stringent norms that are coming in place. There are legislation. See, the thing is, we have policy legislations in place. It's proliferation and implementation that is leaving some room for improvement. I mean, in fact, a lot of room for improvement. So, greenwashing has to stop. Secondly, there are several legislations which are coming in the form of MPCB Pollution Control Board, Ganga Action Plan, mandating even the agricultural sector about water usage. All real estates have to put solar rooftop. I mean, so there is awareness coming in by way of regulations, and that enforcement will only get tight. So, in the first place, your business processes, your production processes, your overall plant or factory footprint has to be cleaned up first. What you do further to make good of that is the next level of thing. But if your processes are not environment friendly, then you will be found wanting in the eyes of law. What you essentially were trying to say is becoming net zero. We can't actually stop emissions. As we breathe in, breathe out, we emit carbon dioxide. So it is not, it's just that's for human beings, but also true for factories. So it cannot be that you can actually eliminate carbon emissions or you can eliminate, but what you can do is you can, whatever your carbon, so there is a scientific way of measuring carbon footprint from your processes, from your commute, from your waste management and whatnot. Then you have a systematic or structured programs to actually take initiatives which will recharge that much carbon or which will, for example, for planting. So they say that in your lifetime you exert carbon dioxide which is equivalent to plant absorption of 14 plants in your life cycle. So if everybody plants 14 plants in their lifetime, that is the carbon they will exert and that is the carbon equivalent to the plants. So that is becoming net zero for individual. So similarly, factories, so anything that you can measure, you can manage. Right. So if you measure your carbon footprints, you will be able to manage what kind of efforts you need to become net zero. And as you are following, India has a vision to become net zero by 2070. There are many big companies which have stated vision which is even more ambitious like 2040, 2050. So the corporates are also taking up steps to move to, like I said, energy transition, circular economy, forestation, and carbon capture and storage. And then new technologies will emerge. Right. So I think a lot of effort is going on in that direction.
True. And wherever there are industries popping up, all these concentrated efforts need to be made parallel.
Absolutely. We may not know, but there is environmental impact assessment studies that are being done. The approvals are granted only against that. So, like I said, there are legislations, there are solutions, but its enforcement and monitoring often remains questionable. For example, I'll give you one quick. So, we have a solution called zero liquid discharge, which means that you need not take a fresh water intake from the groundwaters or from the natural resources, but whatever water you are taking, you treat, you recycle, you take out the toxic chemicals and put it back for another application. So sewage treatment plants, effluent treatment plants, water recycling is a big solution that is available. So that is just for water, but you can do the same thing for carbon. You can do the same thing for energy. That whatever your consumption, you try to set up wind power projects, green hydrogen projects. Eventually, in future, we'll see that happening. Wind power projects, which will actually pave way for cleaner environment, and hopefully, we'll win our battle against climate change.
And talking about industries growing at a rapid pace, Maharashtra is seeing a lot of development. Has always seen a lot of development in the last few decades, but the next decade is going to be fundamental or significant for Maharashtra's growth and the vision that Maharashtra becomes a 1 trillion economy. What are your views on that, and how do you think Maharashtra can achieve that faster or in a more efficient?
I think that's a great question. So today, if you look at Maharashtra, we have a GDP of just under $500 billion, right? Maharashtra has a stated vision to make $1 trillion economy by 2032, going by the growth rate at which it is pacing. All out efforts are being made to progress in that direction. Just look at the recently concluded World Economic Forum Davos Summit, where Maharashtra signed several lakhs of crores of MOUs and understanding, which we are seeing gradually translate. There is port infrastructure, Vadhavan port, which is being built up to facilitate more exports and imports, more trade, right? There are new airports that are coming in Maharashtra, which are also going to people movement, and it will facilitate trade and commerce. There are, as far as the community is concerned, highways being built, metro projects are going on in a big way. Global capability centers, Maharashtra is the number one preferred destination, which is a big thing to happen. Semiconductor boom, Maharashtra has taken early lead, so we will see some semiconductor facilities also being put up. National Hydrogen Mission is a stated mission where also we see that there is a lot of potential in this, because if you take Pune alone, there is a lot of bioeconomy ecosystem that is built in around Pune, whether it is NCL, ICER, Agarkar Institute, then there are other players in terms of private sector who are contributing by way of research and development, by way of building a strong ecosystem. So Maharashtra will see that growth. Last I read was we have some 18,000 startups registered in Maharashtra. So it's also epicenter for the tech and innovation using technology. So I think the whole space here is poised to leapfrog, and Maharashtra should, with a stable government, with the kind of governance plan and the kind of initiatives that they are taking, I don't think Maharashtra will be left any behind. It is easily the most favored destination for attracting foreign direct investments, creating jobs. Pune is known as the Oxford of the East, which means the talent is available. We are blessed with great monsoon. Water is not a scarcity, is not a problem. So I think we have all the ingredients on the table. Can we make something out of it? Time will tell. But I think there is all intentions, and industry and society is all gun ho about it.
Correct. And to make this happen, thousands of startups need to be in line, need to
Sure.
be prepared.
Sure.
And I think that to a great extent starts at college level as well for
Yes.
youngsters to get nurtured into that
Yes.
environment. And you are on the board of directors of Bhau Institute, which is doing a great job for incubating startups, for nurturing talent. Can you tell us a bit about how things go around there and how it's building unique talent?
So I think that's a great question. So catch them young, as they say. So Bhau Institute is essentially a tech startup, tech incubator, supported by the Department of Science and Technology. So we encourage people in the tech space to come at a very early stage, and we provide them a very conducive environment in terms of guidance, in terms of incubation, in terms of mentoring, in terms of interactions with the angel investors, in terms of funding support, in terms of connecting them with the other elements of the entire ecosystem. And we have seen fantastic results so far. And our next target is to see that whatever playbook we have in Bhau, we are able to emulate in other parts of Maharashtra, in and around Pune to start with, and then other parts. We have seen that although we have not reported any unicorn per se, but there are several successful startups which are self-sustaining. Over 300 startups have graduated from Bhau, and now their journey from a startup to scale up is on its way. So I think our whole intention here is to provide seed funding, initial support, COEP, Tech Universities campus. We have easy access to the renowned faculty, laboratories. There are several alumni which are coming in and helping their alma mater, and also Bhau in terms of connecting them with the buyers, perhaps outside India. So a lot is being done in this space, and I'm so happy to report that Bhau has made a name for itself as one of the top tech incubators in the country.
That's great to hear.
Yeah.
And we are at our institute today.
Absolutely.
And it's great because we checked out the campus. It's really inspiring, and it's, the environment is really great. With the infrastructure, the labs, and every student
Absolutely
focused on what they're doing.
Indeed. And but many times we realize that there are tech startups which come up with a great idea, but they have no idea about commercialization. They have some idea about commercialization, they need guidance on funding. Then they have everything, but they can't scale up. So that's where at board level we have taken decision to take several initiatives to identify specific needs of incubators that are registered with us and provide them personalized guidance. We personally get involved with several startups to see that they are able to move forward in their journey.
Right. Talking about youngsters taking the lead, or as you said, catch them young, what would be your advice for youngsters watching you here? What would be your advice for them to do, irrespective of whether they want to get into a startup or not? What would be your one advice that they should follow for more clarity at a young age?
I wouldn't say I'm in position to give advice, but I can definitely share some experiences and insight. One of the thing I think I firmly believe that has worked for me is the principle is there is always a better way to do it, find it. Which in other words, continuous improvement has to be the name of the game. Right? You can't keep jumping over the same hurdle. You have to raise the bar and aim higher. So that's one of the things I realized early in my life. Another thing I have found that continuous learning is extremely important, especially in today's times. Yes. When the technology landscape is evolving, right. When the business landscape is changing very fast, when the geopolitical environment is acquiring new skills. For acquiring new skills, you have to unlearn also, whether it is AI/ML, whether it is design thinking, whether it is data analytics. Again, the courses are available at a click of a button at online courses of MOOC, Khan Academy, Coursera. You can even formally enroll in a program. You're staying on the top of the game. It requires to learn it by the book, and when you learn it by the book, you have actually are benefiting from the insights of those who have done it, those who have failed over and over and succeeded. So I think continuous learning is extremely important. Is another thing that I would say. Also, I have realized through my experiences is know who is just as important as know how. In other words, networking is business. So the youngsters will have to find different forums, platform, avenues to go and kind of be part of several activities that go on a business environment, whether it is confederation of Indian industries, whether it is industry associations, whether it is trade shows, conferences, seminar, conclaves, guest lectures, all of that. So when you go there, you become part of the system. You get to hear it from people who have been doing there. You can go, and everybody is very more than happy to guide, mentor, coach people. But you have to take that first step to do reach out to them. For that, they need to do homework. Clarity is very important. So I think networking is very, very important, I feel. And it doesn't have to be only related to business, it has to be related with your personal growth story also. It could be with industry mentors, it could be with academic guides, it could be with scientists, it could be with social reformers. So much today is being talked about mental health. So we have to also make sure that we have a good ecosystem of our friends and family who are always encouraging us, who are always behind us in our moments of ups and downs. So I think that overall networking is very important. And lastly, I would say that I have this magical statement, which is a 10 letter, two worded statement, which says that if it is to be, it is up to me. So if it is to be, it's up to me. So I have to take that effort to be able to make a difference. What is my purpose? And like our Simon Sinek says, start with why. Yeah. So every time we question why, the purpose behind it, they will find way. The gates will open.
True, true. And it ultimately solves the what, why, how.
All the puzzle. And these days, you have TED Talks, you have Simon Sinek's, Adam Grant's, you will know RRA, the thought leaders who are, at a click of button on podcast. Yeah. So if you keep listening to them, if you keep reading Economist, if you keep reading New York Times, if you keep reading business newspapers, it gives you a global perspective, because in another decade, 2 decades, this will be a very different place. As India marches from shy of $4 trillion economy to $5 trillion economy to third largest, and to become a developed nation, there will be more and more global businesses. I mean, we just heard President Trump and Prime Minister Modi say that they have plans to scale up India-US business trade corridor by quite a distance. So I think what you're going to see is more global environment. So learning some intercultural aspects is very critical. Learning foreign language is critical. These are some of the experiences I've had in my career, and not that I have got on top of everything, but I think they have definitely helped me keep in a good stead.
Right. And the youth that is going to enter the workforce now, they are pretty much able to tackle things that are coming their way, because the technology is not new for them. They have grown up with it.
Yes.
But you have dealt with workforce across all ages in your career of 3 decades. So, what has been your observation when it comes to the workforce, let's say, who entered the industry 20 years ago? How are they tackling with this sudden change? In a way, we could call it sudden because when AI came,
Correct.
things are suddenly, picking up
Changed,
pace
yes,
and everything.
yes.
So, what is your observation around that?
That's a great question. See, I think they broadly split India before the globalization and after the globalization. So in 1990s, globalizing Indian economy was an inflection point.
Right.
Till then, people believed in joining one company and retiring from them, right? Everything was just the same. After globalization, suddenly you had these new companies coming in, competition which was multinational. There was a tech boom. So a paradigm changed totally. Till the time you had this dot-com bubble at the beginning of the millennium, where again things changed. So first change after independence came after several decades. Then it was in just one decade that you had this dot-com bubble. Within 8 years, you had subprime lending crisis in 2008. Again, everything changed when the world was on a steady waters. Suddenly, heavens came crashing and upside down. And then again, 2010, you have double dip recession. Right. And then you again had COVID hitting us, a nightmare. So, for the people who were used to working in a very safe haven, for them it's a massive change. For the generation Z, which is born after in this present millennium, they are living with this change. So we are saying that they are living in a VUCA world. So change is the only constant. That's the new normal that they are experiencing. So where this Darwin's theory holds good, not the strongest, not the fittest, but most adaptable or resilient species survive. So the people who have actually been able to change with time, acquire new skills, whether it is technology skills, whether it is people skills, living with different cultures. They say that go that extra mile, it's never crowded. So they have been able to survive, thrive, and grow. But people who are not able to change actually found it very hard. And there are proactive initiatives being taken by several governments. For example, I read somewhere that the government of Singapore actually mandates people above 40 to go compulsory in the school and learn. So some of these initiatives will become the order of the day. Continuous learning there is no substitute to that.
Correct, correct. In a way, it gave everyone a reality check that learning does not stop at college level.
Yes, and advent of Industry 4.0, Industry 5.0, massive automation with this chat GPT and regenerative AI and large language models. Suddenly, people have realized that the job that we are working may not be there. Yeah. And this is happening across the sectors, whether it is lawyers, medicine, healthcare professionals, whether it is bankers, everybody. So, that doesn't mean that they will have nothing to do. The new opportunities will emerge, but you have to be ready for it. Yeah. Like we say, when the preparation meets opportunity, there is success. So, are you preparing for that eventuality is a bigger question.
Right. As you rightly said, times are changing, and people, irrespective of at what age they are, 30, 40, 50, they need to keep on learning.
Yes.
Right. But do you think the learning systems today are in a way not suitable for people who are in the 40 to 45 age group? Are they finding it difficult? What are your observations around that?
I think that's a good question because this is a new thing that is happening over last 5-10 years, I would say. But I want to draw a parallel, right? India today is a service economy. It was once agricultural economy, then it was manufacturing. Today is a service economy. And lot of migration that you see from rural to urban is from the agricultural labor, just looking for better livelihood. But if you realize minutely that all agricultural learning, skilling is on the job and not classroom, it is working with your seniors, with peers, and they tell you and you do it. When you come to an organized industry, the learning has to be more classroom. That's a paradigm shift. So that's where fallout happens. So we are looking at different pedagogies. Now it is correct that the people who have never gone to school after graduation suddenly find it hard after 20 years to concentrate, to be in the class, to appear for exams and so on. But the pedagogy could be different. There could be a case study based learning. There could be objective learning by simulation of various situations. There could be an assignment which will be live assignment on your work, but with the help of external. So I think the pedagogy will evolve, methodology will evolve. One shirt doesn't fit all. So depending on who is hungry, who is willing to learn, there will be avenues and there will be programs. And I see industry academia collaboration because I've been also thickly associated with industry as well as academia. Management development programs, case study based approach, or deputations or rotations in various roles and programs is preparing young managers to take up new roles, new challenges. And if you actually expose them and put them in the company of young people who have the energy, who have the knowledge, but who don't have the experience. And these people who have experience and perhaps found wanting on some of these elements, they can be a nice team formation. So there is a cross learning effect also. So you have to little bit mix and match. You have to realign. You have to reskill people. Some will be willing. Those who are willing will find their way. Those who will find it hard will have to make way. In that case, they will have to, it's like that Formula One race. The one who is driving faster is behind you. Then eventually, at some point in time, he will get past you.
Cool. So in a way, knowledge is contagious, energy is contagious.
Absolutely.
The kind of culture needs to be.
Couldn't have said it any better. There are people with experience, there are people with knowledge and energy. Can you create an ecosystem and a nice blend where everybody wins? It's a great insight. Yeah.
And with the advent of AI and technology rapidly changing, traditional roles are also getting transformed or getting obsolete. So there is a shift of traditional roles to gig economy now.
Yes.
People are letting go of the 9 to 5. People are working on the go. People are working from different countries. So do you think this will be not an occasional scenario, but it might be a regular scenario in the years to come?
Well, the jury is not out, is what I would say. When COVID hit us, we thought that work from home is the way forward. Now there are many offices which are saying no, not anymore. You have to be in office. So what is that new normal? That goalpost is also shifting. But clearly, I don't see this disappearing. Whether this is the way, we don't know yet. But people have taken notice that, you don't have to be confined to a workplace, to a stipulated time, to a stipulated zone or demography, or to a job. So that has found acceptance and it may increase. If you look in a bigger perspective, at 1.42 billion, we are the most populous nation on the planet. We have 950 million people which are between age group of 15 to 64, which means working class.
Yeah.
We have to create meaningful, value-added jobs for them to be able to survive and contribute to GDP growth for us to realize our developed economic dream. They cannot be the driver, security guard, retail salesman, and that kind of a job. So this gig economy is coming into the play there, that how they can, and with the internet, they can be more entrepreneurially also. The thing is they have to arm themselves with the new skills.
Yeah.
And that's why government has taken up several programs of Skill India, Stand Up India, Startup India to help people become entrepreneurs. There are several grants available, funding available, there are scholarships available, fellowships available. So I think going forward, skilling and reskilling will not remain a matter of choice. People will have to fall in. Because if we can't do that, then the same population will create social unrest, unthinkable gap between haves and have-nots, and which will be a big problem for the country.
So, on a daily basis, you take over different challenges, next level, high level challenges. So, what are a few words or a phrase that you live by that motivates you?
I think what has worked for me is, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. Which means planning is integral to everything that you do. Does it mean it kills creativity? No. In planning also you build scenarios.
Correct.
So I think if you plan things, then you prepare accordingly and then you are better prepared to face any eventuality. So I think planning is very central to career progression, is what I believe.
True. Words to live by.
Words to live by.
And so thank you so much for your time, for your precious time. And I personally gained a lot of insights through our conversation. And I'm sure everyone watching this podcast will have had a good time and great knowledge.
Let me just say, pleasure is all mine. I too found your questions very, very thought provoking. I hope I have been able to add some value, and I look forward to continuing this dialogue with you and wishing you all the best.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.